VGK falls to the Sharks for the second time in the preseason. It was a 2-0 game last night at T-Mobile Arena. Wake up, Chris Golick. We recap the game. We talk about position battles right after this on Locked On Golden Knights.
You're Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hi again, everyone. Tony Cardasco, Chris Golick from Las Vegas. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. Find us wherever you get your podcast, and please subscribe to the YouTube channel, Locked On Golden Knights. VGK losing a physical game last night, Chris, 2-0 to the Sharks. Nothing happened on offense, so let's focus on the goaltenders first. It was so, oh my goodness. I felt bad for you up there in the press box. I don't feel that you could evaluate really anything last night other than the goaltenders. Adin Hill and Logan Thompson played pretty well, each of those, two goalies. Hill stopping 14 of 15 shots, I believe, last night. And he got that one save last night where he loses his stick and then has the kick save. And I thought he did pretty well while he was in there. And beaten on the sensational play from William Eklund. My goodness, what a pass to Thomas Bordelot. And Leighton Ahak, we're going to call him out because he was in poor position.
Did you see his it's not Money Puck, like the game report that shows like how each player did? Ajax was as far to the left as you can possibly get.
So yes, on that graphic that we saw last night, there was as bad as it gets. Like even your top players were not good. And then Jacob McDonald beat Thompson from the point on a play that I believe, and well, Bruce Cassidy said after the game he thought was a deflection play. But evaluate the goaltenders, and I still say Adin Hill has the leg up.
I never time my coffee drinks perfectly with you. We're out of sync right now. The goalies were fine last night.
No, I do that intentionally.
Fair enough. If I'm going to offer any type of criticism surrounding the goalies, it's not the goalies, but I felt, and especially in particular, they were way too much in Adin Hill's grill last night. There was a couple of times where players were just kind of swarming the net a little bit, and it would have been nice to see VGK clean some of that junk up. That's not a shot at the Sharks. Just when players are in the crease, that area needs to be protected, and it's preseason. It's okay to take a bad penalty if you're going to rough someone up for entering the goalie's crease. No one's going to get mad about that in the preseason. So that was something that bothered me a little bit upstairs in the box. As far as the performance goes, both goaltenders were fine. Adin Hill was funny. He lost the stick, obviously. Great save. The very next sequence, Pahal is skating by, and I don't know if it was Pahal got a little too close or if Adin Hill was just irresponsible with his goalie stick, but he lost it again. And you see Adin Hill just throw up his hands. He's like, after it happened, I don't know if the cameras caught that or not, but it was a pretty funny moment. I was hoping we were going to get to talk to Adin after the game and could have busted his chops a little bit about that, but we didn't. Logan Thompson, I mean, yeah, deflection, screens, so many things happened on the goal that he gave up. And back to the Eklund goal. So I caught a great replay this morning that I put out on social media from the San Jose Sharks side. Eklund doesn't even look at Bordelot prior to making the pass. He's like looking off into the corner, not in a danger area. And I think Ahak possibly saw that and just gave up for a split second. And you see how fast things can happen in the NHL. And Eklund's going to be a special player, I think. He's going to wind up being a thorn in the sides of the Golden Knights for a long time. But goaltenders, fine. I think they're both ready to go. And I think they both wish it was already next Tuesday when the banner, well, this Tuesday now when the banner's going to get raised.
So for the final two games, do you play the two goaltenders? Do you give them each one game, or will you split the time, or will you bring up the other guy? Because Thursday night appears to be the dress rehearsal game, and then you want your players rested. Thursday night, they'll roll the top 4 lines and all of that, and then I think Hill will be in net, at least for starters. But do you split them up, or do you give them a full game?
You got two options. You can do exactly what Bruce Cassidy did on Tuesday night. Maybe this time you start with Logan and then defer to Aiden halfway through, and then Saturday just give Patera the game and have whoever back up just in case there's some type of injury. I almost like that as the better option. I mean, they both goalies, Hill and Thompson, they've had an entire summer to get back into game shape. They've had the captain skates. They've had a pretty good training camp, and you see the effort these guys are having. And I don't think the battle between Aiden Hill and Logan Thompson is getting enough attention. And when I say battle, they're not competing for a roster spot. They're not really competing to be the starter, but I think there's the friendship there, and they're competing to better one another, which really is the best kind of competition you can have, because they don't have the stress lingering over of, oh my goodness, I'm going to be the backup goalie if I don't steal his job or anything like that. And that's not the case with Logan and Aiden. So it's going to be a real healthy battle, as both goalies have alluded to throughout the offseason. It's going to be fun to watch, and I really hope they can stay healthy. And I mean, I think the over-under for both goalies right now is probably 41 and a half starts, with maybe Aiden Hill getting a minus 120 and Logan Thompson being even money to get more starts. And really, I think it more or less depends on the health at this point.
The first intermission, they had Aiden Hill on as the guest, which was
How'd
kind of
that go?
funny. Yeah, it was pretty funny. No, he's really loose, and said that he feels great. And no, he was terrific. Yeah, that was
You'll never get the goalies in the regular season doing that intermission. You will
no.
never
He
get a
said
goalie.
no.
I thought that was
said,
actually kind of cool that Aiden did it.
he said no way. It's kind of, he said, an unspoken rule that goaltenders don't go on.
Oh, he said that? I
between
didn't even
periods.
know that.
Yeah,
I was
yeah, that's what he
just
said.
BSing there.
Between
Nice. Okay.
periods. And yeah, it was the hockey stat card that we saw that had, you have all of these players who excel with the blue colors to the left on your graph, and everyone was to the right of the line. And then on the bottom was Leighton Ahak. Oh my goodness, he was not having
Have
a
you
good night.
seen, totally unrelated, Connor Bedard always is like perfect in his first 2 report cards. It's crazy.
Oh, my
First 3 report
goodness.
cards. Dude's gonna be fun. Dude's gonna be
How
fun.
many points do you think realistically? Over
I don't
80
know.
and a half? What was the number? I forgot.
We
They had
had
an astronomical
arguments.
number, right, for goals on him.
There was a bunch of us. I think it was Ryan Wallace. I think Jesse was up there, and Ken from Sinbin. Everyone, we were just talking during one of the opening days of camp about what a good season would be. I said, if the guy gets 60 points, 30 goals, I think that's fine. And I got blasted by him, basically saying that, comparing Austin Matthews' first year and stuff like that, and how he went. It wasn't a blast like they were mad or anything. Just they felt that Bedard should be in, I think, where you said about that 80-point range, which is really where they need him to be in Chicago, which I think that's a tall task. I'm not saying he can't do it. I'm not saying he can't get 100 points. I'm not saying he can't get 60 points. I don't know what he's going to do, but for me, I felt 60, 65 is a good start to his career, but it seems like 80 points is like this magical number where the hockey world wants him to be, and I'm fine with that.
Over under on the number of times, the amount of times that reporters step on the logo this upcoming season, and he has that sourpuss face.
Don't some teams even, like, I thought, stanching off the logo in the locker rooms. I don't know.
With the Raiders, you have to do push-ups if you step on the logo.
Does that include media members?
Oh no, it's media members. Oh yeah.
Awesome.
No, it was a big deal when they first opened up the locker
In other
room
news,
after
I'm never
the
going to
pandemic.
cover a Raiders game.
No, you're not allowed. I'm not allowed at VGK. You're not allowed at Raider games. Okay, so Gage Quinney, I think, had the best 2 chances. Oh my God, there weren't very many chances.
Yeah, Quinney had a really good chance. Really good chance.
Yeah, he should have been graded at the top, I felt, and he just could not connect, and he couldn't get the finish. What about checks last night? It was a physical game at times, and did VGK finish its checks?
I felt they started the game well. I asked Will Carey about that post game, and the question was there an extra emphasis by Coach Cassidy on starting tonight's game, a little more physical? And Carrier, said, no, this is how we play. And this is the tone that we like to set, no extra emphasis. This is who we are. So, okay, fine. I'm okay with that. The first couple of preseason games, you really haven't seen the hitting unless someone who has been sent down on waivers is taking runs at a player like Mark Stone. Otherwise, there's not a whole lot of action out there. So good to see the physicality early in the game, but I don't think they kept it up. And I'm sure this is probably in your notes, but I'll jump the gun here. Givani Smith was having his way with the Golden Knights last night, around the nets, in the corner. And it took until late in the third period for there to be a boil over from Braden Pahal, which Pahal shouldn't be the one having to do this. Pahal, is technically kind of set in his ways with the team right now. I really thought Comtois missed an opportunity to, just for lack of a better term, deck Givani Smith last night, challenge him to a fight. That would have been the best thing Comtois could have done to be noticed last night in a game where he, Brisson, Dorofeyev, and even Paul Cotter were barely noticeable when they're all competing for roster spots. With that, of course, in the third segment. But, Comtois missed an opportunity last night to at least get in the good graces of VGK fans. And, at the end of the game, Pahal finally gets tired of Givani Smith's nonsense, takes a whack at him. Friggin' Givani Smith just decked Pahal. He friggin' decked him and got himself the gates.
Yeah, he got the gate. I liked Mason Morelli's game, his drive to the. I talked about him the other day. I like this guy who played for the Hershey Bears last year, and Givani Smith setting the tone early and often in the game. He had the roughing hit, the penalty on Morelli. He hit Comtois, Pahal, as you said, and Smith. They tangled in the game. Why didn't the Florida Panthers play Givani Smith in the Stanley Cup final? I'm like, this guy, they needed physicality. Why not? I think he was a healthy scratch, right?
I don't remember exactly, but if Givani Smith is playing on the fourth line in preseason game number 5 for the San Jose Sharks, maybe that just simply says, A, he's set in his ways, he's going to be a fourth line player, or B, he's just a guy at this stage of his career. I don't know, but it would have been not a bad. Listen, the Florida Panthers had plenty of physicality. They just ran out of gas, plain and simple.
And Duchesne is a player that we'll see for the Sharks this upcoming season.
I forgot about Duchesne, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
he had an Achilles injury, by the way, an Achilles injury and surgery. And that's why Shea Theodore was able to deke him out of his skates, folks. Okay, coming up next, we're going to talk about Max Comtois. Maxine, where does he fit in with the VGK? Pretty interesting comments from Coach Bruce Cassidy last night. We'll get to that when we return right here on Locked On Golden Knights. When you are drafting your fantasy team, do you ever wish that you could do the same thing with your business team? If you are building a roster to win the league, you need Indeed. Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. Don't spend hours on multiple job sites looking for candidates with the right skills when you could do it all on Indeed. Find top talent fast with Indeed's site of powerful hiring tools like Indeed Instant Match, assessments, and virtual interviews. That's right, hate waiting. Indeed's U.S. data shows over 80% of the Indeed employees find quality candidates whose resume on Indeed matches their job description the moment that they sponsor a job. Candidates that you invite to apply through Instant Match are 3 times more likely to apply to the job than candidates who only see it in the search, according to U.S. Indeed data. Join over 3 million businesses worldwide in using Indeed to hire some great talent. Indeed knows when you are growing your own business, you have to make every dollar count. That's why with Indeed, you can only pay for quality applications that match your must-have job requirements. Indeed knows that hiring needs to be cost-effective when you are running your own business. Visit Indeed.com/lockedon to start hiring right now. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon. Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Cost per application pricing not available for everyone. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Welcome back, Locked On Golden Knights from Las Vegas each and every day. Thanks for making us your first listen. We surely do appreciate that. And please subscribe to the YouTube channel. That is Locked On Golden Knights.
So bad. Like, look at all that. That's the game
That's
report
that
card.
card.
Yeah,
And
the stuff
everything's
where there's
supposed
more
to be
lines
like on
is
the
the
left
bad.
side, right?
The left side is the bad, is where you don't want to be. That's
And Jake Bischoff graded
had a
out
good
the
game.
best.
Yeah, Bischoff had
But
a
he
good
got
game.
smashed a few times. He
Yeah,
left
well.
the game once with an injury, came back, and yeah.
And then there's Connor Bedard. There's Connor Bedard, and then right behind him, Corey Perry. How about that?
Oof. Big preseason for Corey Perry.
And
So,
for $4
Chris,
million at 38, he better.
Yeah. So Max Comtois, who's on a professional tryout contract, it doesn't appear as though Max is going to be making the NHL team. Set it up on, you spoke to Bruce Cassidy after the game, and kudos to you for asking the question, and he was more than honest and transparent with his response. So set that up for us if you can.
Yeah, so the question was pretty simple. It was Comtois ever in consideration to take Reilly Smith's position? Obviously, we know now Cotter and Dorofeyev have the lead on that. And then the follow-up was, where could Comtois potentially fit in? And the first response is, well, Max is going to have to outplay guys. He doesn't have a contract. We know this, but hearing the coach just firing back there,
Right.
and then this is what's great about Cassidy. He will give you honest. It's not about trying to get like a bait, bait him and saying something. He'll give you a very honest answer without even having to ask a whole lot. So he went farther to say he's not taking Barbie's spot up there. Howden can move around. If Comtois jumps off the page, he could play with Stevenson and Stone if he's able to finish. So Cassidy tipped his hand a little bit.
Yeah.
Howden is an interchangeable piece on this roster. Not a knock on Howden, but basically saying Howden, is a type of player who can, he can be the fourth line center. He can go play a third line wing if necessary, if it makes sense for Comtois to take that spot and be able to finish. So it almost sounds like, to me, if you're going to read between the lines of what Cassidy said, is they really wanted to see if Comtois can be the second line winger with Stone and Stevenson, which I think is a good spot for him. We talked about that, obviously, many times once the PTO was formally announced, where he could possibly fit in, and the potential of, Barbashev going to that second line and Comtois going up top. Cassidy, of course, squashed that, which is fine, but we're still in the same perspective where Comtois does have that finishing ability, but maybe he is not responsible enough on the defensive side of the puck to get a shot to crack the roster. Comtois hasn't necessarily had the fairest of opportunities to shine. And what I mean when I say that is Brisson gets back-to-back games with Jack Eichel. Brisson's going to look good. Brisson did not play with Jack Eichel last night. He was on, I believe, the second line. Scratch that. He was on the third line. Actually,
Was he on the
he was on the third line with Dorofeyev and Quinney. So basically, you had an AHL line last season, and that line was pretty much Gage Quinney was noticeable. No one else on that line was noticeable.
No.
You get Comtois on the line with Paul Cotter last night, which is interesting because they're having a direct competition, but we haven't had a chance to see Comtois with Eichel or the Stevenson Stone line. Like, we haven't seen that yet. It's going to be hard for Comtois to stand out when he's on the third and, on lower lines with the AHL players. But also, Comtois needs to do something to make himself notable in that spot. At least Paul Cotter did get a shout out last night for trying to impose his will on the game, trying to have some physicality, having some good pockets. And Coach did mention that a little bit last night.
And he said that Cotter has been playing a bunch of minutes, and for Comtois, it doesn't sound promising, to be honest. And he did nothing last night to help his cause. And you said, you need to be noticeable.
Terrible turnover in the first period, that led, or third period, whatever it was, just passed it right to a Shark player right in front of the net. They got a grade A chance out of it.
Yeah, he seemed to be lost out there. Wasn't in the right position very often last night. And as you mentioned, you need to really be noticeable. And Giovanni Smith is cracking all your players and smashing everyone.
And he's
And yes,
noticeable.
was that
Giovanni
in
Smith
the
is
first
noticeable
or
on the fourth line.
it was that in the first or the second period though there, where Comtois and him just kind of that pushing and shoving match. And actually,
There
Giovanni
was a
Smith
little one.
punched him a couple times in the face, just quick little punches
Yep.
there, like Taylor
Yeah.
Swift punches. Did you see that video with her and the
Oh
punches?
God, yeah, I saw that.
Not very
Totally.
good. Not very. Come on, man. We
She
got to
had
work on
more. She had more punch than your Jets did.
we got to work on our boxing technique next. But yeah, he didn't do anything to stand out. And that's what you apparently have to do in these preseason
Hit
games,
somebody. Just hit
regardless of
somebody.
who you
Hit
are.
somebody. Hit somebody.
Right. That's
If
all
you're
you
not
need to
going to
do is
be
play physical.
noticeable, at least if he's out there throwing his body around and getting the crowd going. And again, shout out to the Golden Knight fans. Good crowd last night. Not as good as the first couple of preseason games, but once I think the lineup got leaked during the day, I think that probably didn't help the cause. But still, the fans came out and supported. And it's been the best preseason crowds I've seen, even better than season one when no one knew what path this team was going to take. So it's good to see. It's good to see.
Are they spending their $22.96 on beers and alcohol?
That's probably about what it comes out to be. I'm sure they are. I mean, that's how you got to handle these games with being medicated.
So Thursday night, we're going to see regulars. And by the way, too, when VGK plays in San Jose, they have to raise the 2-0 banner there for beating VGK twice in San Jose.
Between that and the Kings banner for hitting Mark Stone, yeah, gonna be some banner raising ceremonies that the Golden Knights are gonna be a part of.
We're going to see mostly regulars though on Thursday night.
I think so. I think you'll probably see 3 lines of regulars, 2 defensive lines of regulars, or something like that. I don't know if they'll go all out, but it's gonna be pretty close.
So the question was answered last night as far as bringing up AHL players. And so I think we see maybe Saturday night. Saturday night, you want to sort of throttle down because you're very close to the first game.
You might have that
play the regular lines.
You might have a line. You might have a line like the Golden Knights had on Tuesday night, where you do give Cotter, Dorofeyev, Brisson, Comtois one last shot to make that final impression. That was really the only storyline to watch coming into last night's game, and I was intrigued. I really thought you were going to see these players just trying to impose their will on the game, and it just didn't happen from any of them. I mean, Cotter at least was hitting people. I don't know if he did a whole lot else, but he was at least hitting people out there. Brisson was buried in the game. Comtois was buried in the game. Dorofeyev, I thought maybe early had a little bit of opportunity, but after that, it was just buried. And I get it. It's a Tuesday night. You're playing the Sharks in a preseason nothing game. But, as Brad Marchand said, here's a good perspective. Brad Marchand had comments
I think Marchand said that the VGK preseason schedule is rigged.
Is that what he said? That was the second thing he said. No, but Marchand talked about the hit on Mark Stone, and the perspective he offered is you have players trying to steal someone's career. And I don't mean steal someone's career by injuring them. I mean, Brendan Brisson needs to steal someone's spot. Dorofeyev needs to take someone's spot. Max Comtois is in the spot where he literally needs to steal someone's career right now. And that's just the reality of being a player without a contract October 4th on a PTO. And Comtois did not show that at all last night. At least Brisson, Dorofeyev, and Cotter have a path carved off. But Comtois this time next week might be looking to get signed by somebody.
Sharks.
We didn't. Fine. He might. Then I think honestly, Sharks, Arizona will take him in a heartbeat. But
yeah,
he wants a team where he can compete.
Yeah, I think he could be a good complementary piece somewhere. But I think what really disappointed Cassidy the most as we closed the book on Comtois in this segment was the fact that they're looking for some more video on Comtois to evaluate, and there was nothing. I think that was part of his frustration. It had to be.
There's nothing to evaluate from yesterday. It's not. Right. It's almost a burn the tape type of game. It really is.
Coming up next, we really don't believe that any, as Chris alluded to, of the 4 players trying to make the team stood out last night. But Chris tells us what he did see. And is the picture clear in the battle between Pav? What does he call him? Pav?
Pav.
Okay. And Doro? I'm just trying to be hip and cool. We'll tell you about the evaluation for Reilly Smith's spot when we return right here on Locked On Golden Knights. Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get into the action than now, folks. The app is so easy to use. They pay you right after the games, and there is a wide range of betting options, including point spreads, player props, over-unders. We call them totals here, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, the official partner of the National Football League. We are back on Locked On Golden Knights. Tony Cardasco, Chris Golick from Las Vegas. Don't forget, coming up on Friday, it is our featured WTF What the Friday. I look forward to that every week, Chris, and I like all the comments that we've been getting, and they really do pick up during the course of the season, and I hope that the fans continue to send them to us because we really enjoy that feature. WTF each and every
I'll be jumping on the YouTube ones too a little bit more. I was chirping a little bit last night. Someone was,
what were you chirping about?
Reporter. Well, they're saying that Eichel is a one-dimensional player, and it's not like a random.
Interesting.
I mean, okay, Duluth, you get a WTW. What the Wednesday here? Wild Bill's the only player who can win the Selke if they can get him back to 30 or 40 goals.
Come on.
Yeah, I know. I got you going there.
Did they have wait. Did they count empty net goals in consideration for the Selke?
Well, then he's a shoo-in.
Yeah, he might make
Eichel is a one-dimensional is capitalized, who needs to score 40 or 50 goals and not play PK. I'd be happy to get his face-off percentages up. Fine, okay.
The only issue that I have with Eichel right now in his current game, well, he's got to win face-offs, yes. He needs to shoot more. Please shoot. Be a little bit more selfish. That's it.
You know, we saw that in the last game where Eichel played, and I thought like the shot selection was kind of poor. Like he did take a couple more shots, but they're just shots where they're not going in, right? They're shots where the goalie has a clear look from the top of the circle, and you're not going to be an NHL goalie if they can see the puck like that too often. Sometimes you will, but not too often. So I get the mix, but if Eichel is a point-per-game player, and if he does it by getting 20 goals and 62 assists, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that left circle shot, though, is pretty much unstoppable.
It can be.
Would you say that Paul Cotter currently has a definitive edge over Pavel Dorofeyev? They both have contracts, by the way, to start in Reilly Smith's old spot there on the wing.
Yeah, I think that. I mean, basically, Coach has alluded to that multiple times, and Bruce Cassidy did directly mention after Friday's game that Cotter and Dorofeyev have the inside track. You could tell it matters to Cassidy's seniority to a degree, right? Cassidy has mentioned that both those players, Cotter and Dorofeyev, have earned his trust. That was kind of another question that I asked when I was mentioning Brisson possibly separating himself in camp, and Cassidy knocked that down right away and mentioned that Cotter and Dorofeyev have been here longer, and he does have some of that, they do have some of that coach's trust. Mixing up that now with the response that Cassidy gave last night about Dorofeyev not having a great game, needs to be better, and Cotter at least trying to oppose his will. Like it just all adds up that Cotter is going to get the opening night nod unless something strange happens. Brisson is expendable right now. I don't mean as far as his ability. I simply mean he has a two-way contract. He does not have to clear waivers. So there's no reason for the Golden Knights to rush anything with Brisson. There's going to be injuries. Something's going to happen. Mark Stone, if he plays 50 games, that's a good year, but that still leaves over 30 games right there for someone to fill the void. And there's a lot of other players that will suffer injuries. They'll have slow streaks. They'll want to see, Brisson could be a good spark later down the line, but Cotter's got the inside track. Dorofeyev is going to have the first opportunity after that, or if Cotter slows down. Coach Cassidy was very quick to healthy scratch Paul Cotter last season in many occurrences. So don't be surprised if Cotter doesn't start hot in the first 5, 6, 7 games. You see Dorofeyev taking that spot potentially pretty quickly.
Chris, we hearken back to that first press conference that Bruce Cassidy had when he first arrived here in Las Vegas. And what did he talk about? Players having to pay their dues. He just plays all those mind games, and they're doing that right now currently.
But he
I
holds
believe.
true to it, though. He's holding true to it.
Oh, yeah, no, without a doubt. And
Cassidy's
again,
keeping those receipts, and he's at least holding his
right.
players to accountability and holding himself to accountability on the things that he says.
It's pretty interesting, though, because, they played last season. They got up there, and they're both under. I think that's the biggest slight, though. They're both under contract. If you're Comtois going, what do I need to do to make this team right now?
But Comtois should be doing, that's exactly what he should be doing right now, and he's not.
Right.
He's not.
And Brisson is the new kid who he's improved from last year, but he still needs to pay his dues, I think.
The Golden Knights,
the way Cassidy sees it.
There's a reason that Brisson played back-to-back games with Jack Eichel. Brisson is going to be the first person that gets called up if A, there's an injury, or B, if the team is going through a scoring drought, and if for some reason that line of Barbashev, Eichel, and Marchessault is not clicking. Marchessault has been compared to other way around. Brisson has been compared to Marchessault in the same type of game by Cassidy. So, reading between the lines here, it's pretty clear what the Golden Knights are going to be doing and how they're going to open camp and what plan B, plan C, and even plan D is should plans A, B, and C not work.
Yeah, it's never complete at the start of the season with Bruce Cassidy. We saw that a season ago. Could Cotter hold down that position if he does win that competition, or do we still see the battle there? Again, it'll shake out during the first month, two, what have you. Will we see, again, that position, as Cassidy alluded to, by committee? But if Cotter continues to get those sort of minutes like he's getting in the preseason, does he eventually find that spot more permanently?
Oh, no doubt. Now, Cotter, he fits the mold, right? He may not have the same scoring punch as Reilly Smith. Maybe he will. I don't know. I think I think Paul Cotter might be a better pure scorer than Reilly Smith, but Reilly Smith is probably more responsible. So, Paul Cotter might be better suited for a top 6 spot just based off of that. But Cotter brings an element of physicality to his game that also builds him as a line third winger who hopefully can play the right style of defensive game. But you got to remember, when you're playing on the third and fourth line, you're going to be drawing the other team's top 2 lines a lot. So Cotter has to make sure to take care of home first, play responsible on the defending side of the blue line. If he does that, he'll get plenty of opportunities, and that is what separates Cotter and Dorofeyev, I believe, the ability to play defense.
Before we depart, I do have to give a shout out to my nephew, Colin, who's in town today. He's a comedian. I gave him more material last night, so I appreciate him just listening to me. And he's working the circuit.
Where's he working?
So there's some comedy. There's this comedy festival downtown tonight. Okay. So he's somewhere, apparently. I'm going to try to get down there. And this is how close my family is, Chris. We often hear about your family. For once, I'm going to talk about mine. I get a text, and it says, "Hey, we're in town. Let's catch up. I'm here with Colin. Brian, a.k.a. your brother-in-law. Like, we haven't talked in about a decade."
So your brother-in-law had to sign his name to the text because
he said your brother-in-law.
He's not in your flip phone anymore. Got it.
So that
your phone doesn't save contacts.
No, absolutely not. I know back in the day we had to know numbers by heart because you couldn't store them. So I still remember some of my good friends' phone numbers, and I dial them rather than looking them up in the directory.
Does your flip phone have a rotary dial on it, Tony?
It does. It does. We appreciate everyone tuning in. Had to get one shout out in this year. Okay. Make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel. We appreciate the everydayers. And for my man, Chris Golick, I am Tony Cardasco from Las Vegas. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please. Locked On Golden Knights. We are starving podcasters. We'll see you again tomorrow right here on Locked On Golden Knights. Take care.